What up, roomies? Tonight's episode, yeah, it's gonna be a little different. We've had some wild stories on this podcast. People who've gone through crazy life experiences. People who've seen things most of us never will. But tonight, we're stepping into something a little different, unexplainable. Our guest is an author, but the craziest part about it is that she says she lives in a haunted house. Not visited, not experienced, but lives in it. And growing up, she didn't just hear ghost stories. These were stories passed down by family. Things may or may not be still be lingering. So tonight we're gonna dive all into that. And Kari, welcome to Neighbors. How you doing? How's
Good.
everything going?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being on. When I saw your post and I was like, you live in a haunted house, I was like, oh, this is cool. I was like, I just like I gotta like ask a couple of questions about this and like find out like why and like has anything really crazy happened or like what's your experience like with the paranormal stuff and also to talk about your work and your books and stuff as well.
Mhm. Yeah. So my husband and I have lived in our house for 19 years,
Nice.
and it was built in 1951. And as far as we know, nobody has died here,
Yeah.
but there's something, and it's not constant. And I don't necessarily even feel like it is necessarily. It's creepy, but it
Yeah.
doesn't feel like malicious by any means. Um, but over the years, I have experienced some random things. Um, there was the ones that disturbed me the most were probably after our kids were born.
Yeah.
Because when you start messing with my kids, that's
No, of course, the mama bear instincts kick in
yeah,
and you're like, all right, cool. Now I really gotta like look into this now.
yeah. So my son was maybe a couple months old, and he wouldn't sleep anywhere except his bouncy seat. So it's just a little seat that they sit in and it bounces.
Yeah.
So I was in my room. I was on the floor trying to get him to go to sleep, and to the right of me there is a nightlight. Okay,
Okay.
and to the left of me is our hallway. So like our door and the hallway, and we have a short hallway to get to my son's room.
Mm.
And I'm sitting in on the floor, and it's mostly dark, but as I said, we got some night lights on. And I'm sitting there bouncing, and I look down the hall, and it almost looks like the door to my son's bedroom
Yeah.
is shaking. And I'm like, that's weird. Like it looks like it's just kind of pulsing a little bit. And I was like, okay,
Yeah.
that's weird. That's most likely my own imagination here because of the lights, because of, it's a little
Yeah.
dark. Maybe I'm a little sleepy, you know. So I'm sitting there watching it, and all of a sudden I see the door handles are gold, and it looks like they're glinting.
Oh,
And I'm
okay.
like, it's like, that's weird. And again, I'm like, it's most likely me. I'm most likely doing this. So I start moving myself back and forth, trying to replicate this,
Yeah.
and it's not. So the moment I stop moving is when it looks like the door is catching the light again. Like the door handle's catching the light again. I said, okay, this is weird. Well, we have a cat, and she was in the room with me, but she was on a cat tree, which is pretty tall,
Yeah.
above, and it's above the nightlight. So she jumps down, and she is not a scaredy cat. She is a pretty confident cat. She doesn't keep her ears back or anything. She is, a pretty confident girl.
Yeah.
She jumps down, slinks under the bouncy seat, under my son. Ears are back, and she slinks down our hallway, like belly to the floor. I've never seen her do this before.
That's crazy.
Slinks down the hallway, stops at his door, sits there for a little bit. I don't know, maybe 5 minutes or so, and then she slinks her way back and sits under my son's bouncy seat for the rest of the night.
That's crazy. Because they say that like cats and dogs can see things that humans can't perceive and all that. And then
Hmm.
with you like getting that like glimpse of like that light and all that. Yeah,
Mhm.
something was definitely there, or at
Something
least
was
like
there.
some weird energy was there. Yeah, lingering around.
Yeah. And when both my kids were infants, we had a um, like a baby monitor, and it was a video baby monitor, and so we had it pointed into their crib when they were really little and not moving around a whole lot, because
Yeah,
obviously with cords and stuff, once you don't want it too close. Well, we had it pointed in, and for both of my kids, and they're 2 years apart, for both of them when they were infants, we would check the camera, and while we were watching it, we would see like an orb of light appear on camera, swirl around the crib, and then disappear on camera. It wasn't like, like if it was a bug or something, it would probably like come in and out,
yeah,
you know, but it was like appeared on camera, swirled around, and then disappeared on camera.
that's crazy. That's wild. That's wild, especially like with the kids. Nah. Me,
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I don't know. So like, did all this like started happening like once you moved into the house, or like was it when the kids came?
Um, that's when we were seeing that stuff. Um, there's a woman here. I've heard her a couple times over the
Oh,
years. Um, so the first couple times I heard her, as I said, it's not consistent. It's not something that happens all the time. It's just kind of whenever, apparently, when I reconnect with her or something. Um, but there's been times where I'm up in my room. I'm the only one home, and I've heard her. One time I heard her say, "Hey," like it's in the room. It's not like it's far away. It's like somebody right next to me saying, "Hey," and
oh
that's
shit.
all she said. And another time, again, I was in my room, and she goes, "Oh, I'm the only one here. Who are you talking? Who are you?"
She,
Um,
she's trying to be your friend.
I know. And it's during the day, so it's not like it's creepy stuff at night all the time. But I hear her, and then 10 years ago, my uncle and my husband were rerouting in the bathroom.
Yeah,
And so I was standing by our front door, and I heard her. And that was the last time I heard her. Um, she was in my face, and she hummed "Hmm, in my face.
that's crazy. So,
And then, like a minute later, my husband pokes his head out of the bathroom and says, "Were you just talking?" No, I wasn't. So he heard something.
oh shit. All right,
And
so we know that multiple family members are hearing her and all that. And you know what the crazy part about it is that you usually hear things like this happening like in the night, that at night, not during like the middle of the day. So that's unique in itself.
yeah,
Damn.
yeah.
Wow. So like, all right, when like you got your first like glimpse of it, right?
Hmm.
Was your reaction like, "Holy shit, I need to get out of the crib," or was it like, "All right, I could deal with this because it's not like, it's not malicious, it's not trying to be malevolent or anything like that. It's just like getting some attention here and there."
Yeah. Um, honestly, for a lot of the stuff, I was like, I am sure I'm making this up. Because, like, as a kid, I would sit, like, for some reason, I had those porcelain dolls as a kid
Mm.
on a
Yeah.
shelf. I don't know why. I couldn't play with them, but they were on my shelf. And I could manipulate my imagination to make it look like they were moving.
Okay.
They
I could.
weren't. They weren't. They weren't.
No, no,
But I,
but no, I can see that because a lot of kids do that. You know what I mean?
mhm,
Their imagination runs wild, so I can see like how the correlation goes there. Yeah.
yeah. So, and I freaked myself out as a kid constantly. I had so many nightmares as a kid. So, um, whenever I wake up and I maybe see something that I don't understand, I don't automatically try to assume that it's something paranormal. It's like, okay, I'm not looking at this in the right way. Let me, figure out what I'm seeing first.
Yeah.
So I automatically assume I'm making stuff up. Um, and it wasn't until my husband and I were watching the monitor together, and he goes, "Did you just see that?" And he saw it too,
Okay.
and he confirmed it. And then I was like, "Oh my God, I'm freaked out." So with the monitor, I told my mom about what had happened. And so then she told my grandmother. And my grandmother and my aunt are Catholic. So
Okay.
they went to church every Sunday and everything.
Okay.
So I told them this, or they were told this. And so my grandmother, 40 or 50 years before, for her wedding present, from her uncle who was a priest, he had given them as a present like a crucifix, and it slides open and there's places to put holy water.
Okay.
And so my obviously by this point the holy water's evaporated. So my grandmother and my aunt took their vials of holy water from it, and they went to church and they just siphoned it off in the back of the church in the little marble, like I don't even know what they're called, but like at the back where they keep the
Yeah,
holy water.
where the fountain of holy water is at. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So they're siphoning it off after church. So then they put it back in this crucifix and they gave it to me. And I thought this was going to be a tasteful little crucifix. It's
Nah,
like giant.
it's bold. It's there in your face, like yeah, like, and that little bottle of holy water is really like a thermos.
It was giant. And so I put it in the closet. I was like, I don't want to hang it, but
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm going to put it in the closet. So that's where it lives, is in that room's closet.
Okay. And after you put the crucifix in there, you didn't see like any orbs or anything else like that.
It died down, definitely.
Okay.
But then when my daughter came around, my aunt was over and she had seen stuff on the monitors too. Um, and she goes, "Oh, have you seen anything?" I was like, "No, not really." So then as I turn on the monitor, there's the orb circling around.
Oh shit. Wow.
But but the way that I was raised,
Yeah.
when it comes to ghosts and ghost stories, is that the ghost stories that I grew up with, they're family members of the people that are haunting these places. And so it was always more of these family members came to visit. And so I took comfort in hoping that whoever was doing stuff, like as far as with the kids, that hopefully it was somebody that had already passed and they were just making a visit.
Yeah.
But we didn't get any more of the cat sleeping. So whatever was freaking her out didn't happen again, which was good because that freaked me out. If that was something
No.
that kept happening, I'd be like, I'm out, I'm done.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Because cats, like I said earlier, cats and dogs are sensitive to that. So if
Mhm.
I was to see like my dog freaking out, like for nothing, I'll be like, all right, cool. There's something that's there that I'm not seeing. And if it kept happening, I'll be like, all right, cool. I gotta move because because those things attach themselves to you sometimes.
Mhm.
Especially
Yeah,
if it's been like a long time.
yeah.
But what you were gonna say?
Oh, no, go continue.
But yeah, when and growing up, my parents are also Catholic and all that. So we do believe like in angels and all the paranormal stuff and all that. And I really can't say I've had like certain brushes with the paranormal, but I kind of looked at it and was like, maybe it's just my imagination bugging out.
Mhm.
But then there will be other places where I've been like, oh, like I know there's some paranormal stuff happening here. because I'll know whose residence it is and what they practice and all that, and you'll be like, all right, cool. I just seen some shit that I can't really explain, and then you just kind of like push forward through it. But no, it's dope that that I don't know, the ghost or like the energy that they have
Mhm.
with you is not wilding.
Yeah, I mean, my son has seen some things downstairs.
Ooh,
Um, he's seen, so our downstairs, we have a short hallway and two bedrooms, and then we have a bathroom
yeah,
and like a little tiny closet, like under our stairs. And the bathroom door and the closet door are immediately across from each other. And there was one day, it was like a late start for school. So both of the kids were downstairs, and my son called to me. He had seen something, but there was like a toy in the hall and it had started to move.
yeah,
And then he saw somebody run from either his room or the bathroom because the doors are like that far apart from each other. So they're
yeah,
very,
yeah.
very close. So it's not like a distance. So if you're looking straight down, it might be difficult to see which door it came out of. He said that something ran from his room towards his sister's room, which is right across the hall from him.
Oh
Like,
no.
yeah. And that was during the day, but it was dark. So he had actually seen somebody running.
But that's the craziest thing about it is like this is happening during the middle of the day, multiple witnesses, and it's like it's undeniable that there is something there. You know what I mean? Like
There's something.
there's something. I'm not saying what it is. I'm not saying it's bad or good or whatever, but there's definitely something there, and it's weird, and it could be an array of things and whatnot.
Hmm.
But you also said you grew up with like a lot of like ghost stories and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So like, what were like some of the ghost stories that you did grow up with and all that?
Yeah. So, all right. So I have to go back.
Yeah.
So the house that this is not the house that I grew up in. The house that I live in is not the house I grew up in, and the stories that I'm going to share are not from the house that I grew up in.
Okay.
It was my grandmother's house.
Okay.
And so the house was in the family for quite a few generations. So it was my grandmother's grandfather's house.
Yeah.
So it was quite a few generations, and every generation that lived there added on. So it started off as like a one-room shack, and every generation added on to it. So there's all kinds of different like rooms that currently are the kitchen and the dining room that didn't exist at the time, in previous
Yeah.
versions. And so the kitchen was in a different room of the house.
Okay.
And there was, let's see, there was in the previous kitchen, um, like after my grandparents added on their kitchen, they turned the old kitchen into a bedroom because
Okay.
they had four children, and so they made it so that each of them had their own rooms. And so my aunt was probably a teenager staying in the downstairs bedroom, which was the previous kitchen. And she woke up one night and there was a guy in the corner, like kind of glowing, sitting on a stool and looking at her. And she kind of freaked out, obviously.
Yeah.
There's this
Yeah.
guy in the
Because
corner.
I'm like,
Um, and so then she's petrified in fear and just stays in bed. She doesn't move because she goes, I can't get out of bed because it's right over there. Um, and then I guess eventually he just faded away. So in the morning, I'm impressed she was able to wait till morning, but my grandmother was an OB nurse, so she may not have been home because she did a lot of overnight.
yeah.
So she might have had to wait till morning when her mom got home. And so my aunt tells my grandmother, hey, this is what happened. This guy was in the corner. She goes, oh, can you describe him to me? So she described him. And my grandmother has generations of photographs of past family members. Like when we had asked for wedding photos from different generations for our wedding, she goes, "How far back do you want to go?" Like, I was like, people that I've heard of and know of. I
Yeah.
don't need to go back like to England.
Yeah, like I don't need to know
You know?
who I don't need like my great grandmother's portrait
Right,
painting.
right. Well, she goes into one of her photo albums and cycles through, and she goes, "Oh, was this the guy?" And she holds up a picture of a guy, and my aunt's like, "Yeah, that's him." She goes, "Oh, that's funny. He died in that room."
What?
Yeah.
Uh,
Apparently, so that had been the kitchen. So there was, I don't know his name, but there was a woman. Her name, they called her Big Marge. I
Yeah.
don't know why, but they called her Big Marge. And she made a joke, and she made a cherry pie, and she said, "If this doesn't kill you, nothing will." Well, he died
Mm,
after eating the pie. She did not poison it. Um, I think he had like a coronary or an embolism or something, and it was just really poor timing on the joke.
ooh.
But he died. Um, so he's in that house. Um, there's somebody that walks
Qu-
around the backyard. Oh, sorry, hold on.
Question, right?
Yeah,
Did your aunt like ask her mom to like move her out that room right after that? Because I would
she,
have.
yeah,
Because I would have not trooped that one out. I would have been like, chill. There's a dude just sitting in a stool in the corner of my room. Nah,
yeah.
I'm
I'm
good on that
pretty
one.
sure she headed upstairs with my mom, and they shared a room
Nice.
for the rest of the time that they were all living in the house together. Um, but there was also somebody upstairs.
Mm,
There was there was a woman, a family member named, it was like my mom and aunt's great Helen,
okay.
and she died in the house upstairs in the room that was my mom and aunt's room.
Oh man,
She had died
your
up
aunt
there.
can't get a break.
And so both of them saw her, but not as a form, excuse me, but more of as like a like a light that was kind of like,
Okay.
I don't know, kind of
More
not like
like an
ball
apparition.
light. Yeah,
Okay.
but like not really
Okay.
defined, but just kind of like a light source, but not like a bright light like a light, but like just like there was like an aura of light.
Okay.
And so both of them saw her there, and they always kind of assumed that it was their great aunt Helen.
Okay.
And my mom's name was Helen, and she was named after that that.
Okay. I can see why Helen was chilling with your mom.
Yeah,
She's like, hey, you're named after me. I got you, bro.
yeah. I'm just here. Don't forget about me.
Exactly. But that's wild though. That's crazy how like a place could like keep the energy of people and like keep them like almost tied to this realm. I don't know if they're passing on and just visiting, or they haven't found that piece, I guess, to pass on. But it's wild how like certain places and even certain people have the ability to keep somebody's soul with them, kind of.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
So when it comes down to it, since you was like raised, you know, a lot with the paranormal, does that like influence your work as an author?
Yes. I am a paranormal author, so I write
Nice,
about ghosts and vampires,
nice.
primarily primarily ghosts. Um, but most of my ghost stories aren't quote unquote scary. It's not like somebody's there, like it's not like spooky. It's
Yeah.
more of like, one of them is, um he knows he's a ghost. He starts off the story and he goes, "Yeah, I know I'm a ghost. I haunt this house." And if they get, if somebody I don't like comes in, then I start doing the ghosty stuff. As long as they keep my
Okay.
cable going, then I'm fine. But if they start cutting off my stuff, then I start scaring them away.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it doesn't necessarily come from a place of scariness, because I wasn't necessarily. like I heard all the ghost stories. Of course, they creeped me out,
Of course.
but it was, I guess, more framed as, well, these are just people that are just visiting, like coming back to take care of the house or take, check in on people. And the same thing with dreams, that if you dreamt of somebody that had already passed, that just meant that they had come back for a visit.
I got you. And
So it's a
like,
little bit of comfort.
all right. So are like most of your stories like from the point of view of like the paranormal being like the ghost, the vampire, or is
Sometimes,
it
sometimes.
or is
So
it like mix and match?
I've got like 10 short stories.
Mhm.
A majority of them are paranormal. Um, most of them are usually from the human point of view.
Okay.
So I've got one book out called Chateau Merlot, and that is a vampire-owned apartment building where she houses her humans like a wine cellar. And yeah, it's funny.
It is.
um, so there's like a blood type hierarchy, but it's the point of view of a human
Okay.
who gets pulled into that world. And the vampires are more there just to throw obstacles at them, and not so much, they're not they're there, but they're not necessarily there in every single chapter. It's more about the human aspect of
Okay. I got you. I got you. And like out of all your stories, which one is your favorite, and which one would you recommend to the viewers to the roomies to read?
it. Oh, let's see. Um, well, Chateau Merlot is my currently only novel that's out. However, I do have a
Okay.
new book coming out this summer, and that one is called Cassandra Sear, Psychic on the Run. And she's a psychic that goes off on vacation and accidentally picks up a hitchhiking ghost, and he's on a quest to fulfill his bucket list.
Oh, that's dope.
So that one is much funnier than
Yeah.
Chateau. Um, it's quirkier, where Chateau Merlot has, it's not romance. It's not a romance vampire book. Um,
Yeah.
but with Cassandra Sear, it's funny and not at all, like the stakes are much lower than in Chateau Merlot. Because the entire time with Chateau Merlot, you're wondering, is he going to survive this?
I got you on that.
Can he survive in a building where vampires are feeding off of him?
Yeah. And that's that concept is dope. I'm not gonna lie, that concept is really because it's like him just going home is like, all right, cool. I hope nobody tries to eat me.
Yeah, I mean, well, and because in Chateau, like because Angelica asks as a vampire, and she wants to keep them. She wants to keep them there and keep them healthy and happy and everything. However, if you want to leave her, she says it's really easy, but nobody survived to be able to say that they've gotten out on the other end.
Okay, I got you. I got you on that. All right, that's dope. That's dope. So, roomies, make sure to check out Chateau Merlot and her new book coming out this summer. Do you have a specific release date for it?
In late June, I think.
Late June. We'll definitely keep. When it drops, let us know. We'll definitely put a post on the Instagram so the roomies can read that.
Thank you.
Besides that, why do you think that people are so attracted to like the paranormal, even though even if it's scary or not, like that concept of something being beyond us? Why do you think people are so attracted to that?
Hmm. For myself, I think it's um, as we get older, I think there's a lot of things that, like the magic or
Yeah,
the unexplained of when we're kids, kind of disappears as we get older.
true.
And so I think sometimes having that thing that we can't explain Or, we try to, and how many ghost videos do you watch? And you're like, oh, well, I don't know. They could be doing this. You could be doing that. And it's also a little bit of a puzzle. And then when you experience something, it's, well, trying to figure out, did it actually happen, or
True.
what is the cause of it? So I think it's a little bit of both finding something that's not explained, excuse me, and what, trying to figure out that mystery.
No, I get you on that. And I also think it kind of like you were saying, it plays to like that child in us a little bit, where life still has some mystery and all that,
Hmm.
and that's so dope. That's so dope. All right, all right.
And you can believe in something a little, believe in something that's maybe bigger than yourself or outside, or maybe, I don't know. There's just so much.
No, I get you on that. I get you. So like, right when it comes down to it, right? How does like knowing that and knowing that people still want that mystery and kind of like that intrigue in life, how do you like kind of like put that into your work to like attract people?
Um, well, I write for myself.
Okay.
I try to write something that I would find interesting. And so, like, for Chateau Merlot, um, I was, at the time that I wrote that, I was a year and a half out past my mom's death.
My
And
condolences.
so, thank you. And so it was a whole lot of dealing with my own identity, um, feeling like everything I was doing wasn't enough. And
Yeah.
so a lot of my own personal experiences go into my writing. Um, so whenever a character is feeling grief or something, I go back to moments when I have felt grief and I try to describe it from where I'm feeling it. Um, and then on the flip side of that, with Cassandra, it's it felt like, as I was writing it, like a love letter to myself,
Yeah.
because I picked and chose things that were quirky and funny. So, like I told you about my grandmother and my aunt kind of siphoning off the holy water. And there
Yeah.
is a scene where Cassandra and a friend of hers goes to a church and siphons off. But, like, this is improbable. However, it doesn't matter how improbable something is. I'm like, this is a way to just kind of commemorate what they did for me.
No, I got you on that. So like with Chateau Merlot being, personal to you and, taking experiences from like, small little events from like your own life and throwing it in the book, like the siphon with that. When, when your readers kind of like give you feedback, has anybody been like, yo, I felt like I've gone through this, or like I felt what the character is going through, and then you're like, damn, this person felt like I did.
Mhm. Yeah, there's been a few people that have said that, with Chateau in particular, and there's another story that I wrote, but that they're like, I sobbed when X, Y, and Z happened. And um, recently I won first place in a writing contest that was local to one of our libraries.
No.
And I didn't intend to make people cry, but I got so many messages from people that read it. They're like, I am sobbing right now. And even from people that I wouldn't consider super emotional. And I was like, oh, wow, I touched on something there.
Yeah. And how did you feel knowing that you were able to communicate your emotion across to the reader and they felt that impacted?
It definitely reinforced my feelings of being an author, and that okay, because there's always imposter syndrome in there. It's always floating around saying,
I
"Oh, you're
know.
not
I
good
know how you
enough."
feel on that.
Like, "Oh, you're not good enough. You're not that good." But then if somebody feels something, good or bad, like, oh, they connected in that moment.
Yeah.
I got a 1-star review one time. I've gotten quite a few 1-star reviews. That's fine. It's not a big deal. But it was this one. She went on for paragraphs about how much she disliked the book. And I was like, you know what? That stayed with you.
Yeah, that one does.
You didn't like it, but holy moly, it brought out something in her. And I was like, I keep fantastic. I'm so glad you didn't like the book. And look at how much you wrote about it.
Yo. But the thing about it is like, especially when your audience kind of like gives you a little feedback, and especially with people like that who, give you so much detail about what they felt. I've always came to the conclusion is that they did enjoy it. It was the emotion that work made them feel that they didn't enjoy. Like, it could be like a person who isn't comfortable being in a saddened state or whatever,
Mhm.
and they'll be like, "Oh, you made me feel this way, so I don't like your work." But you did. You just it just brought out this emotion that you wasn't really feeling.
Yeah. So, I mean, 1-star reviews, poor reviews are part of the writing process. So, and they say that, once you get your first 1-star review, that you're a real author.
Yep. And but that's also true for when you're like on YouTube and you're trying to do the YouTube thing, or on Spotify and trying to put something out there. It's like once you get that one shitty comment that but it'll be the same person on all your things writing something bad, and you'll be there. But like, if you didn't like it the first time, why do you keep coming back for more? Like, there's got to be something that you're enjoying here. And then no, it's not trolling me because I'm not even responding to you. But that's how it is and all that. So like, if Chateau Merlot could be put in another format, not necessarily a book. It could be a show, a series, something on YouTube. What kind of format would you like it to like kind of transform into, and what would you be, and which would excite you the most?
I think a TV show would be fun.
Like a show, how many seasons?
Oh, let's not go too many because, once they get too far away from the original source material, it just goes downhill.
No. If we just take the source material as it is, how many seasons
Oh,
we looking at? Like three?
let's do 3. Yeah.
Three? That sounds low.
Yeah.
That sounds. And what studio would you want it to come out of?
Oh, I don't know. One somebody would watch it on.
I get that. I get that. But Kari, I asked this question right before I, close out with all my guests. Do you have any final thoughts, words of wisdom, or advice for the roomies?
If you are a writer or anybody that creates things, if you struggle with, I'll talk about imposter syndrome. Don't let the voice be in control. I know it's hard. Have somebody outside of yourself to help guide you on whether or not what you're putting out is good or where there's room for improvement. There's always room for improvement.
I'm fine. Roomies, remember, keep doing what you're doing, and don't let nobody put you down on it. People are gonna hate, but let them hate, because at the end of the day, they're still helping the algorithm push your stuff out. So keep it pushing. With that being said, peace out.